The 1990s. The hyper-body-conscious decade that brought us step aerobics, Tybo, and the Thigh Master. One of the 90s most infamous health food innovations was Olestra, a fat substitute that promised to let us all eat as many potato chips as we wanted, without wreaking havoc on our waistlines. Because in the good old US of A, don't make us choose between Doritos and buns of steel. Today on Weird History Food, we're talking about Olestra, the miracle food product that became a pop culture punchline in less than a year. Be sure to subscribe to the Weird History Food channel. After that, leave us a comment and let us know what other food-related topics you would like to hear about. Okay, time to dig into a big oily discharge of low-fat food history. During the low-fat craze of the 1990s, in which exercise-averse consumers were ready to believe they could gorge their way to health and fitness, consumer goods giant Procter & Gamble discovered what it thought might be the holy grail of food production: snacks that were flavorful and satisfying, but also low in fat, thanks to an additive called Olestra. The invention of Olestra dates back to 1968. When P&G attempted to create a substance that could provide fats for premature babies. The product failed to do this. But when P&G discovered that Olestra would bind to cholesterol and carry it out of the body like a stack of old pizza boxes, it sought FDA approval to turn the substance into a cholesterol medication. The company spent 10 years trying to convince the FDA of its benefits and was repeatedly denied. But after investing at least $200 million into developing Olestra, P&G refused to give up. You don't dump that kind of money into a project with no expectation of a return, unless you're a celebrity parent of an aspiring musician. No, honey, it's sounding better. In the 1980s, nutrition science and research was still evolving. Scientists didn't have a full understanding of how health is affected by diet. Many doctors and scientists, alarmed by the number of heart disease deaths, concluded overconsumption of fat was the culprit. As a result, by the 1990s, they were recommending a high-carbohydrate, low-fat diet. Like, I don't know, Greek yogurt in a bread bowl? P&G researchers saw potential for Olestra as a food additive and sought to license it to food manufacturers as a fat substitute, despite initial studies in which some test subjects reported gastrointestinal distress after eating Olestra-laced foods. That's the medical euphemism for windy farts and bathroom emergencies. The company spent millions on lobbying, hiring professional chefs to incorporate Olestra into healthy meals, and even funding their own studies to counter the belly aching about the belly aches. In 1996, the FDA finally agreed. Olestra was rebranded as Olean and licensed for use in chips and cookies. Interestingly, Olean is kind of close to oleander, a poisonous flower whose known effects include abdominal pain and bloody diarrhea. I'm sure somebody brought that up at a meeting. P&G partnered with Frito-Lay, which utilized Olean in its Wow brand of low-fat products, including Doritos, Ruffles, and Lay's chips. Many researchers believe that humans evolved to find pleasure in sweet and/or fatty foods, and not just because they're delicious and pair well with several hours of true crime programming. Fatty foods in nature generally mean more calories, and natural sweetness can be found in foods that provide energy. These attributes in food were necessary for the survival of early humans, for whom hunting and gathering were strenuous and the availability of calories was uncertain. If you were going to try to bring down a mammoth or survive a punishing winter, you needed to carb load like a bunch of fifth graders at a sleepover. But for the average modern consumer, finding calories is anything but strenuous. So how to satisfy the inherited biological cravings for fat and sugar while eliminating the excess calories? P&G created Olestra by combining vegetable oil and sugar, among other things. The scientifically engineered molecules in Olestra are bigger than those in natural fats, and thus neither digested nor absorbed by the body. That means foods made with the fat substitute maintain the flavor and texture of a fatty product, but the fake fat molecules are excreted. So people eating products containing Olestra could eat the delicious fatty foods their bodies craved while consuming fewer calories. That was a classic win-win situation, or so the thinking went. P&G used this angle to market its products. As one product reviewer read, "The beauty of Olestra is permission to overindulge in perfectly crunchy, salty, good-tasting potato chips that merrily leave your fingers shiny, without the fat and half the guilt." Hold on, are we listing shiny fingers in the pro column? Okay. Long before P&G used Olestra in its snack products, researchers discovered that Olestra binds to cholesterol during the digestive process and carries it out of the body. Unfortunately, this interaction also inhibited the body from absorbing critical fat-soluble vitamins and carotenoids, naturally occurring pigments in fruits and vegetables that provide multiple health benefits in human beings. To get around this sticky issue, food manufacturers were required to fortify their fat-free products by adding vitamins E, D, K, and A, the healthiest letters of the alphabet. The FDA figured the added vitamins would make up for any that were lost during the Olestra elimination process. They also required companies to add labels to their products explaining why the vitamins were added, because the main thing anyone ripping open a bag of Cool Ranch Doritos wants to do is read a paragraph of jargony science text. When P&G began testing products containing Olean, some humans and rats involved in the studies experienced gastrointestinal distress. Studies conducted independently of P&G often showed similar but inconsistent results. While some studies showed that many people had no difficulty after eating Olestra, including one that focused on more than 3,000 people over a 20-week period, other testing showed different results. In 1997, during a test marketing period in Indiana, hundreds of people called the Center for Science in the Public Interest to complain about Olestra products and share their experiences. The complaints included people falling so ill they missed work or school, and people who were gastrointestinally distressed in their pants before they could make it to the bathroom. That's not the kind of buzz you want around your miracle diet food. At a press conference held by the CSPI, several people, some of whom had eaten only half an ounce of Wow chips, shared experiences of week-long diarrhea, severe flatulence, vomiting, and the infamous anal leakage, the phrase that would ultimately doom Olestra in the eyes of the public. Still, P&G pushed ahead with getting approval from the FDA, claiming that gastrointestinal distress is a common ailment that can occur after eating a wide variety of foods. I mean, we've known about the effects of Taco Bell for years, and we still keep going. The FDA approved the product on one condition. It required food manufacturers to prominently display a label that read, "Olestra may cause abdominal cramping and loose stools." Oof, that's not the best start. That's like a horse breaking its legs straight out of the gate. But food manufacturers complied, and the first products containing the Olestra were readied for their big debut. Frito-Lay released the first products containing Olean in 1998. Wow brand Doritos, Ruffles, and Lay's chips. Despite carrying a higher price tag and the scarlet letter warning label of "These chips will make you go big nasty," Wow sales started strong. To help distract from the loose stool warning, the company packaged the chips in brightly colored bags featuring comic book-style fonts. It also offered a variety of bag sizes, thinking perhaps consumers might be more inclined to overlook warnings if they could purchase snacks in smaller, potentially less harmful quantities. Unfortunately, consumers who ignored the loose stool labels often suffered. More than 20,000 people contacted the Center for Science in the Public Interest and P&G with complaints that were forwarded to the FDA. Symptoms included cramping, diarrhea, oily discharge, and fecal incontinence. Diarrhea and incontinence. That's the yin and yang of stomach aches. Some who consumed Olestra products became so ill that they required colonoscopies and hospitalization. By 2000, sale of products containing Olestra had fallen by half. Whether it was the taste, the price, the warning label, or all the bathroom violence, many consumers decided the fewer calories were not worth it. And anal leakage had become a catchphrase, finding its way into comedy routines for years. If Frito-Lay had any hope consumers would ignore warnings about loose stools, the company lost it once pop culture caught on. Mad TV jumped on the joke early, and in 1996 created a commercial for a fake product that promised 10% less anal leakage. The Onion published a parody letter from Olean's makers, deriding diet food consumers as idiots happy to wallow in their own excrement. Jay Leno told viewers, "Olestra is said to cause diarrhea and, in their words now, anal leakage. So folks, when you're through with the Pringles, you might want to hang on to the can." By 2002, the FDA was receiving more complaints about Olestra than all other food additives combined. The agency claimed it required P&G to periodically disclose these, but failed to hold the company accountable, and Olestra was allowed to stay on the market. As sales of Olestra products declined, Frito-Lay and P&G repeatedly asked the FDA to remove the required warning label. After a study showed that 3,000 people who ate either Olestra or regular chips for 6 weeks had little difference in gastrointestinal experience, the FDA finally changed its mind. The agency saw a bigger problem. Several people in the study had mistakenly attributed illness to the chips, but other conditions, such as intestinal viruses and appendicitis, actually caused the problems. The FDA believed that people were being influenced by the negative press and warning labels and were misdiagnosing their symptoms as a result. The agency also reasoned that its rules should be consistent. For example, it didn't require warnings on high-fiber foods like fruit and cereals that can also cause similar gastrointestinal distress.
Are you going to give them to your kids?
So why single out Olestra? The FDA also changed requirements regarding the labeling of additional vitamins. Although it still required companies to add vitamins to Olestra products, companies no longer needed to reveal why they had been added. The rule change made food manufacturers happy, but the decision upset many nutritionists and health advocates who felt the lack of transparency from food companies about their products would harm consumers. We kind of agree with being a stickler for the rules when it comes to food. We need to know upfront whether anal leakage is on the table. However, the labeling change didn't take place until 2003, and by that time, the damage was done. Sales never rebounded. With the warning label gone and permission from the FDA to continue using the fat substitute, P&G reformulated Olestra to try to eliminate gastrointestinal distress. In 2011, however, Purdue University published a study that suggested yet another drawback. Olestra may cause people to gain weight. Not only did researchers find that fat substitutes may induce people to overindulge in calories, they also determined that Olestra consumers may gain weight because of the way the substance interferes with food digestion and metabolization. In the study, rats fed Olestra potato chips for a period of time, gained weight when they began eating regular fats again. Consuming Olestra apparently changed the rats' physical response to food, altering their natural ability to regulate fat. According to Purdue University professor Susan Swithers, when we get cues that something is fatty but no calories arrive, our body gets confused. This confusion can make the body stop preparing to digest fatty food when it does come. Olestra essentially plays a biochemical ding-dong ditch with your digestive system. So it turns out the only reliable weight loss offered by Olestra was the pounds you'd leave behind in the bathroom. Despite all this, and the fact that in 2010, Time magazine had named Olestra one of the top 50 worst inventions, yikes! The fat substitute can still be found in a few snack products sold in the United States. Not Canada, though. They banned the stuff. Today, it appears that America is still looking for a magic bullet that will allow us to have our cake and eat it too, every last bit. But the original failure of Olestra has become one of the more cringeworthy fat-free trends of the 90s. So what do you think? Did you ever try Olestra? Let us know in the comments below, and while you're at it, check out these other videos from Weird History Food.